I'm very pleased to introduce the Religious Freedom and Civil Marriage Equality Amendment Act of 2009. This legislation paves the way for equal access to civil marriage in the District of Columbia by defining marriage as a legally recognized union of two people, regardless of gender. If our efforts are successful, the district will join Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, Iowa, and New Hampshire in permitting such unions. The issue of marriage equality elicits very strong feelings and emotions. On the one hand, there are those such as myself who view marriage as a basic human right, which our civil and secular government is duty-bound to extend to same-sex couples in the same manner that it is made available to opposite-sex couples. On the other hand, there are those within our community who simply do not believe that same-sex couples are entitled to the protection of law. At times, that disagreement is rooted in a person's deeply held religious belief and fear that the marriage equality measure will somehow be imposed on his or her faith. The question before us is whether there is room in our city for both marriage equality and religious freedom. Mr. Chairman, it's my heartfelt belief that such an outcome is both achievable and desirable. As drafted, the legislation outlines specific protections that will be afforded to religious organizations, associations, and societies. The legislation clearly states that, quote, each religious organization, association, or society has exclusive control over its own religious doctrines, teachings, and beliefs regarding who may marry within that particular tradition's faith. The legislation also clarifies that, quote, no priest, minister, imam, or rabbi of any religious denomination and no official of any non-profit religious organization authorized to solemnize marriages shall be required to solemnize any marriage in violation of his or her right to the free exercise of religion guaranteed by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. In addition, the legislation further protects religious organizations, associations, societies from having to provide, quote, services, accommodations, facilities, or goods for the purposes related to the solemnization or celebration of a marriage or the promotion of a marriage that is in violation of the entity's religious beliefs, unless the entity makes such services, accommodations, or goods available for purchase, rental, or use to members of the general public. Finally, Mr. Chairman, the legislation addresses the issue of domestic partnerships in the district. As proposed, the ability to register for domestic partnerships in the district will end on January 1st, 2011. Individuals who are registered prior to that date are given the option of converting their domestic partnership into marriage at no cost or continuing their domestic partnership. Ultimately, the decision will be left to the couple. The decision to cease new domestic partnerships is consistent with the actions of other states that have successfully adopted marriage equality statutes. Mr. Chairman, there's no question that we are about to embark on an exciting journey here in the district, fulfilling a more perfect understanding of human rights and equality, which has long been the trademark of our city that I'm proud to call home. I want to thank every member of the community who has assisted us in getting to this point. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to yield the balance of my time to any of the other co-authors who might have or might wish to make a statement. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Catania. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be brief to pass time on as well, but I am so excited to join with Councilmember Catania and the rest of my colleagues in introducing this legislation. For me, this began back in 1991 when I was on the council, first elected and introduced as a non-germane amendment the sodomy repeal bill. Non-germane because the chairman of the committee at that time would not move the bill. Even though we had the votes going in, it failed. And it was not until 2 years later that we were able to actually get that bill passed. A series of bills over the years have brought a lot of changes to our city. But today is a historic day, because today is the culmination of all those efforts. So congratulations, Councilmember Catania, fellow colleagues, and everybody in the room today who was a tremendous participant in making this happen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans. Councilmember Graham.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Catania, for your leadership on this issue. I am enormously proud not only to be sitting here today, but also being able to vote in favor of what is essentially and totally a human rights issue. And I am very proud also to represent, don't cry, I'm also very proud to represent a Ward 1, which has a live and let live attitude in terms of the toleration that we have for different cultures, different points of view, different religions, and great diversities. And, you know, as an openly gay member of this council, who has gone in his own life through so many stages. It is just an incredibly historical and important moment for me to be associated with this bill and to promise you that I'm going to vote yes at every stage of its consideration. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Catania.